Hi there. Welcome to another tutorial about Python from using the W3schools.com website. So this tutorial is about Booleans in Python, and I'm going to help to go through the tutorial along with you. So I suggest you go to this website, W3schools.com/Python, then click on the Python Booleans tab here. In the Python tutorial series, and then we'll go over this together. Okay, so what is a Boolean? So a Boolean represents one of two values, either true or false. Boolean values in programming, you often need to know if an expression is true or false. You can evaluate any expression in Python and get one of two answers, either true or false. So when you compare two values, the expression is evaluated and Python returns the Boolean answer. Okay, let's give it a try. So click on that button and then it's going to open this. And so press run. Now let's examine what's happening here. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to comment out these last two lines, and then we're going to try the first one. Okay, so it's evaluating whether or not 10 is greater than 9. So is 10 greater than 9? Let's run this, and we get the Boolean value of true. So this is true. Okay. Let's print, just to show you that it's a Boolean, you can print type. This will tell you whether or not the value that's returned, true, is a Boolean. Okay, so it's telling you class bool, which is short for Boolean. Okay, let's try the next one. So actually, before you try the next one, just type it out. Print 10 greater than 9. Oops. Run. I know we already saw this, but this is just for you to follow along, okay? So let's go over the next exercise. So type print 10 equals 9. Now, if you already know programming, of course you know what this means. This is a test to see if this value on the left is equal to the value on the right. So equals. And what do you think this is going to result in? Well, let's take a look. False, right? Because 10 is not equal to 9. So let me just delete this. So if we put, what do you think would make it equals to true? 10, right? Okay, that's good. So we got that one to work. Now let's go over the last one. So now what's being evaluated here is 10 less than 9. False, right? Because 10 is bigger than 9. So let's run this. If we put this the other way, okay, is 10 greater than 9? We would end up with true, right? And then if we, so that's that. So let's go on to the next exercise. Okay, so in the next exercise, when you run a condition in an if statement, Python returns true or false. Okay, so print a message based on whether the condition is true or false. So let's try this. So here we have a variable a, and we're assigning the value of 200 to the variable a and the value of 33 assigned to variable b. and it's asking if B is greater than A, then print B is greater than A, else or otherwise print B is not greater than A. Okay, let's run it. So it says B is not greater than A. So why is that? Okay, so B here is 33, whereas A is 200. So clearly B is not greater than A, right? So that's why this is outputting, right? So the point here is we're trying to evaluate to determine if this is going to return true or false. So if this returns true, if it were to return true, then it would print B is greater than A. Okay, let's try to make that condition execute. So let's change this to 100, and let's change this to 50. So now A is smaller than B, right? So, or B is greater than A. So if B is greater than A, then print B is greater than A. So see here, before it was B is not greater than A. So let's see what happens. So B is greater than A. Okay. So I want you to give this a try. Type it out on your own. Just comment this out. Okay, and then write A is equal to 50. B is equal to 100. If B is greater than A, okay, then print B is greater than A. Okay, else print B is not greater than A. Okay, so run it. So it's saying B is greater than A. Yeah. Right, and here B is greater than A. Of course, if you switch it around, so if I give this value to 100 and this value to 50, right, it will say B is not greater than A. Okay, because A, right, 100 is greater than 50, so B is not greater than A. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Evaluate values and variables. Okay, the bool function allows you to evaluate any value and give you true or false in return. So this is a function. Whenever you see a string or word here and then you have these open closed brackets, it means function. It means you're going to execute a function. And sometimes you can, well, here in this case you can use the bool function to evaluate a value, okay, and it will return true or false. So let's give this a try. Okay, so let's run this. So what's happening here, we have this bool function and it's evaluating whether hello is true or false, and it's saying that it's true, and it's also saying that the value of 15 is true. Okay, so let's give this a try. Okay, so print bool hello, run it. True, and then let's print bool run it, and true. Okay, so this bool function here, bool, okay, is an easy way to test a value that you give it to see whether or not it evaluates to true or false. Okay, let's move on. So the next exercise or example is evaluate two variables. So we have two variables here. Let's give it a try. So we have the first variable, hello, second variable, 15. So print bool. I think we just did this one. Let me see here. Seems like the same thing. Evaluate two variables. Evaluate a string and a number. Oh, okay. So here, it's basically the same thing. You're just evaluating a variable instead of the value directly. Okay. So if you want to, we'll just do the first one here. Okay, so comment this one out. Or actually, comment the whole thing out. Or delete everything and just try it on your own. So, right, x is equal to 15. So this is the value assigned to the variable. And then test the bool function to see what it's going to give you. Before I print it, I'm just going to run it to see what happens. We should have no output. And I'm going to print what it says. Okay, so if you print this, you should have a value of true. Okay, great. So let's move on to the next one. So most values are true. Almost any value is evaluated to true if it has some sort of content. So any string is true except empty strings. Any number is true except 0. Any list, tuple, set, and dictionary are true except empty ones. Okay, let's give this a try here. So press run. Now the first test is evaluating whether a string ABC is true. Okay, run. And it's going to evaluate to true. So let's try this ourselves. So type it out, bool ABC. Okay, and then delete the first row. Or you don't need to delete it, you can just press run. And you should have true, true. Okay, so that worked. So let's move on to the next one. So here, print bool 1, 2, 3. So you're evaluating an int. Okay, let's run it. Okay, so that's true. And then lastly, you're going to evaluate this collection. I think this is called a tuple. Let me see here. If you're not sure what the data type is here, you can always go like this, type print, right, type, paste in the data type, okay, or the data, and then run it, and it will tell you what type of data this is. So it's a list, okay? So we're gonna evaluate here. Let's print, so let's type it out. So print bool, and then we're gonna open square bracket. So let's put the value apple, or the item apple, then cherry, then banana. Okay, and then run it. So it's telling us that this list is true. Okay, now we're gonna, it mentioned earlier that if you have an empty list, it's gonna give you false. So let's see what that gives you. False. Okay, and it also mentioned that if you put the value 0 in here, it's gonna also evaluate to false. Okay, I'm just curious what will happen if we put -1. True. Okay, so that's important. If you have a -1, it's actually evaluates to true. So it's only false if you put 0, an empty string. Okay, or an empty collection of some sort, like an empty list. Okay. So let's move on to the next one. So we saw, yeah, it mentioned that. We read that. So some values are false. In fact, there are not many values that evaluate to false, except like what we just discussed, empty values such as an empty list, an empty tuple, an empty dict, an empty string, or the number 0, and the value of none. Okay. So, and of course, the value false evaluates to false. Okay, let's try these. We tried some of them already, but let's just try it again. So press run. Okay, so I suggest you comment everything out. Comment everything out. The multi-line comment is the triple quotes, but I'm just going to use the hash mark just to do one at a time. Okay, so print, I want you to write this out yourself to get the hang of it. Bool, false. Okay, so type false, run. So that should evaluate to false. Let's go on to the next one. Print bool none. So false again. Okay. So none evaluates to false. So this is a special keyword, okay, none in Python. Okay. Let's evaluate the next one. So print bool 0. Let's run that. So that should evaluate to false. Okay, it did. Let's try the next one, an empty string. Well, we tried that one already, right? And then let's try these three. Okay, these three collections, right? So a list. Sorry, this is a tuple. Okay, so let's print bool empty tuple. Run. Oh, we got an error here. So what did we do wrong? We have we forgot a closing bracket. Okay. This is the tuple. Okay. So run. False. If you're not sure what type this is, you can just you can write type, okay, and it's gonna tell you if inside of these parentheses, it's gonna tell you what type this is. So run, because I wrote print here, and type. So this is a tuple. Again, if you're not sure, you can put it inside of this type function. What's this? Is a list, right? And then this was a dict, right? Dict. Okay, so let's try the next one. So print bool. Okay, what's this? So an empty list. Well, we did that one already, right? So let's just do the next one. So print bool, and then a dict, right? Oops. Let's close that. Empty dict. So run. Okay, it gives us false also. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So the next one, so one or more value or object, in this case, evaluates to false. And that is if you have an object that is made from a class with a len__ function that returns 0 or false. Okay. We'll learn more about this in another tutorial. This is just to show you that you could define a class and then use this underscore len function and return 0, and it can this is another case that evaluates to false, okay, when you're testing it with the bool function. Let's give it a try. So press run. It should return false. So let's type this out. Okay. So class, my class. So we're defining a class name. And then we're going to define a function, the underscore len function. Pass it the value or the parameter of self. And then in that function, we're going to define it as a return 0. Okay, so it's going to, when you run this function, it's going to return 0. Okay. And then, so just run that first to see what happens, to make sure there's no errors. Okay, it should just not print anything because I haven't told it to print anything. Then write my obj equals my class. Okay. So we're going to basically run this class or create this class, and we're going to assign it to or an instance of this class. We're going to assign it to this variable, okay, my obj. Run it to see that there's no errors. Okay, then we're going to print my obj. So let's print it. So it should print 0, right? Because it's returning 0. Or oh no, it's printing the class, the instance, okay, that we've created here. And then if you want to evaluate this using the bool function, you just write bool and then run it. And it returns, it's evaluating this object, okay, that you've created using the myClass function that we defined. It's evaluating as 0. As false, sorry, not 0, false. Okay, using the bool function. In another tutorial, like I said, we're going to go into this. We're not going to go over classes and the underscore len function, okay, for now. So just be aware of this, that if you create this object and you can evaluate it, it will evaluate to false using the bool function, okay? So let's see what else we have here. So it says functions can return a Boolean. These are other examples of functions returning a Boolean. So you can create functions that return a Boolean value. For example, so click on try it yourself. Remember, every time I click on try it yourself, you should be doing the exact same thing. The point of this is to just to practice typing out the syntax, okay? So do the same thing, okay? So we're gonna, in this example, we're gonna comment this out. Let me just run it first to make sure there's no error. It works because it says true, but just to double check. Okay, comment this out. So, okay, so define the function, my function. Okay, return true. So the function's gonna return true. Let's just run it to see what happens. Hopefully there are no errors. And print, you're gonna call my function. Okay. And you're gonna see what it's gonna return. So it's returning true. Why? Because, or sorry, it's printing true because the function that you defined returns the value of true. So it's as if once you call this function, it's giving you back the value of true, and that's why when we print it, we're seeing true here. Okay? So again, you're gonna call my function here. Okay? Run. And you should have true. Okay? So that was just to show you that you can define a function and then you can return a bool by writing return true. You could also write return false if you wanted to. You could write false. Right? And then you'd end up with false. Okay. So that's showing you that. Now let's go on to the next exercise. You can execute code based on the Boolean answer of a function. So in this example, print yes if the function returns true, otherwise print no. Okay, let's give that a try. Again, give it a try also. So you're going to just press run, just in case there's any bugs. You know, you want to press run to see that it works. Okay, so type, we're going to define def my function. Okay. You're going to return true. Okay, just press run for now. I just want to see if there's no errors. Okay, no errors. Call my function now. So write my function. And then write print. This is, so we're calling the function and we're just testing to see whether or not it's working. So we should get true. If we wrote false here, it would output false. Okay, change that back to true. Okay, then write. Okay, you can delete this part because we already tested it. So if my function, so basically what this is evaluating this function. It's trying to determine if it's going to return true or false. So if true, then print yes. Okay. And then else print no. Okay. And then run that. So yes, right? Because my function here is the same as true because this returns true. If we wrote false here, it would print no. Okay. So let's put it back to true. Run it. Okay, so it's going to say yes. Now, just to show you how this works, if I wrote if true, okay, then it would print yes, right? Because it's already, you're basically telling it that it's true, so it should execute this block here, okay? If I wrote if false, you're basically saying this is false. So skip over this block and execute the else block. So run. No. Okay, great. So that worked. So let's go on to the next exercise. So what else do we have here? We have, so Python also has many built-in functions that return a Boolean value, like the isInstance function. isInstance function. So which can be used to determine if an object is of a certain data type. So check if an object is an integer or not. Okay, let's try that. So it's going to return a Boolean. You're testing. Here you're using the is instance, okay, function to test whether or not this variable x is an int. So press run as usual. Okay, comment it out so you type the code and get used to it. So, and then type out x is equal to 200. Okay, it could be 300, 400, it could be 1, you know, any integer. Then type print is instance. So the first parameter is basically you're going to pass it the variable x, and the second parameter you're going to specify what you're testing for. So is it an int? And if we run it, it should print true. It is an int. What if we put a string in here, like hello? Would it be an int or not? So it's false. It's not an int. Okay, it's a string. So if you wanted that to say true, you'd write str. So let's test. Is x an str? Instance of str? True, it is. Okay. Let's try another number. Let's try a float. So 3.0. And we'll just ask whether or not a float is an int. So this is a type float. Is it an int? False. It's false, right? So we'd have to write float. So is 3.0 an instance of float? True, it is. If you want to check, you can also, if you want to just check without getting a Boolean, you can write print type, and then inside the type function pass it the variable, and it will tell you what type it is. So here it's float, right? So that's how you know what you're testing against. Okay. So that covers is instance, okay, which returns a bool, and it allows you to test whether or not the variable you want to test is of a certain type that you specify. Okay. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Okay, so here we're going to test ourselves with some exercises. So in this statement below, would you, I want you to try this yourself. So in the statement below, would you print a Boolean value? Which one? So basically, is 10 greater than 9? What do you think? True, right? So submit the answer. Okay, so true. Okay, I want you to try these on your own. If you don't feel like trying it, we'll just go on to the next tutorial, which will be about Python operators. Okay, so look up the next one. We're going to do this Python operators, which is exciting, right? Because you're going to be going over some basic math operators. So thanks again for watching, and see you in the next one.